Rain fell softly over the cracked sidewalks of Crestwood High as the last bell rang, scattering students like raindrops blown by the wind. Among them walked Ethan Brooks, his backpack worn thin and his shoes patched with duct tape. He kept his head low, avoiding the puddles, not because he cared about getting wet, but because every splash reminded him how far behind he was from everyone else. Ethan was the kind of boy who worked 2 part-time jobs after school, one at the grocery store, stacking shelves, and another cleaning floors at the local diner. He didn't talk much about his life. He didn't have time for games, or expensive sneakers, or even the latest phone. His world revolved around survival, paying bills, caring for his sick mother, and trying to graduate high school. But lately, something had changed inside him. Something he couldn't explain. It all started the day he met Lila Carter. He didn't even know her name then. All he knew was that she wore the light blue uniform of a trainee nurse, working nights at the hospital near his part-time job. Every evening around 9 p.m., she'd walk into the diner to grab a cup of coffee before heading to her shift. Her presence was quiet yet magnetic. She smiled at everyone, even at the janitor sweeping the corner. Even at him. That smile did something strange to Ethan. It made him feel seen. She wasn't like the other customers. While most ignored him, treating him like part of the mob, Lila always said, "Thank you." Sometimes she'd even help him when he carried heavy boxes. Once, when his hand got burned by hot coffee, she'd rushed to get ice, whispering softly, "You should be more careful, hero." Hero. No one had ever called him that. From that day, her voice echoed in his head. Every night, when he returned to his tiny apartment, where his mother lay resting from her treatments, he'd think about her. He didn't even know her last name, yet she felt like hope wrapped in human form. Then one morning, posters went up all around school: Crestwood Annual Winter Dance, Friday night, bring a date, bring a smile. Ethan chuckled bitterly when he saw it. A dance? He didn't even have the money for a suit. But as the day went on, his thoughts drifted again to the nurse. That smile. That kindness. Be my date to the dance, the words popped into his mind like a dream. He shook his head immediately. Don't be stupid, he muttered under his breath. She's older, and she'd never say yes. But that night, as fate would have it, Lila walked into the diner again, tired, hair slightly messy, eyes sparkling under the neon lights. Ethan was mopping near the counter, pretending not to stare. Rough day? She asked, noticing his sigh. You could say that, he replied, smiling weakly. She sat at the counter and took a sip of her coffee. You know what I learned in nursing school? Every tired soul needs a reason to smile. Ethan chuckled softly. And what's your reason? She looked at him thoughtfully. Helping people. Seeing them heal. Even when I'm exhausted, that's what keeps me going. Something about her words struck him deep. He wanted to tell her everything, about his mother, about how hard things were, but he couldn't. Instead, he asked something he didn't plan to. Would you come to the dance with me? Lila blinked, startled. Then she laughed softly, covering her mouth. You mean the school dance? Ethan's heart nearly stopped. Yeah. I know it's silly. You're probably busy, and it's just a dumb idea. But Lila smiled, that same warm, patient smile. You're brave, you know that? No one's ever asked me like that before. So, is that a yes? He asked, barely breathing. She hesitated, looking down at her cup. Let me think about it, she said gently. But I'll tell you tomorrow. The next night, Ethan showed up early at the diner, nerves twisting his stomach. Every few minutes, he checked the door. Finally, Lila walked in, this time, wearing a soft pink coat and a shy smile. I thought about it, she said, setting her cup on the counter. And yes. I'll be your date. Ethan froze. His mouth fell open, and his heart felt like it would burst. You mean it? She laughed. I don't say things I don't mean. That night, as she left, she waved at him from across the street, and for the first time in years, Ethan ran home smiling. He told his mother, who giggled through her coughs and said, "You've got your father's charm, sweetheart." The week leading up to the dance was chaos. Ethan borrowed a suit from the thrift store and spent hours scrubbing the scuff marks off his shoes. He practiced smiling in the mirror, trying to hide how nervous he was. Friday night arrived, cold, shimmering with snow. The school gym had been transformed into a winter wonderland of lights and laughter. Ethan stood outside, clutching a small bouquet of daisies, the only flowers he could afford. He waited for Lila, praying she wouldn't regret saying yes. Then, she arrived. The crowd turned as she stepped out of a taxi, wearing a silver dress that shimmered under the moonlight, her hair curled softly over her shoulders. Ethan's jaw dropped. For a moment, the world went silent. "Wow," he whispered as she walked toward him. "You look nervous," she teased gently. "Maybe because I've never been this lucky before," he replied, offering her the daisies. She accepted them with a smile that could melt winter. "Thank you, Ethan. These are beautiful." Inside the gym, heads turned. Whispers spread among the students, "Who is she? She's older, isn't she? She's gorgeous." But Ethan didn't care. He was dancing with the girl who made him believe in something again. They talked, laughed, and shared quiet glances as music played. For a while, everything felt perfect. But near the end of the night, something unexpected happened. A sleek black car pulled up outside the gym, the kind you only saw in movies. Two men in suits stepped out and scanned the crowd. Lila froze. Her expression changed, from joy to sudden panic. "Lila?" Ethan asked softly. "What's wrong?" Before she could answer, a deep voice called out from the door. "Miss Carter. Your father's been looking for you." Ethan blinked. "Your father?" Lila sighed, turning to him, tears welling in her eyes. "Ethan, I didn't mean to hide it. I just wanted one night where no one cared who I was." "Who are you?" he asked quietly. She swallowed hard. "My father is Henry Carter, the CEO of Carter Medical Holdings." The name hit him like thunder. The same company that owned the hospital, the same company that made half the city's fortune. He stepped back, disbelief clouding his face. You're a CEO's daughter?" "I'm sorry," she whispered. "I just wanted to be normal. To meet someone who saw me, not the money." Ethan's heart twisted. He looked at the crowd, everyone staring, and suddenly, he felt small again. Like the poor kid who didn't belong anywhere. Lila reached for his hand. "Please, Ethan, don't let this change how you see me." But the words stuck in his throat. Before he could speak, her bodyguards approached. "Miss Carter, your father insists you return home immediately." She hesitated, tears glistening in her eyes. "Ethan, I'll explain everything. I promise." And then she was gone, swept away into the night by men in suits, leaving Ethan standing under the falling snow, holding nothing but a wilted bouquet of daisies. The music still played inside, but he couldn't hear it anymore. He walked home in silence, every step heavy with confusion, anger, and heartbreak. His mother tried to speak when she saw him, but he simply said, "She's gone, Mom." That night, Ethan didn't sleep. He stared out the window, watching the snow cover the world, a cold, white blanket hiding everything that hurt. He thought she was just a nurse. A kind, ordinary girl like him. But now he realized, maybe their worlds were never meant to cross. Still, deep inside, one thought refused to die. She said she'd explain everything. And Ethan wasn't the kind of boy to give up, not on someone who once called him a hero. The morning after the dance, the world outside Ethan's window looked like a painting, soft flakes resting gently on rooftops, sunlight glinting off frozen trees. But inside his small apartment, everything felt heavy and gray. He sat on the edge of his bed, still wearing the same clothes from the night before. The daisies he'd brought for Lila lay on the windowsill, wilted, forgotten, and beautiful in their own way. His mother stirred from her rest, her voice weak but kind. "You look like a storm hit you, Ethan." He smiled faintly. Maybe it did. She sat up slowly, her frail hands clutching the blanket. "You want to talk about it?" Ethan hesitated. "She wasn't who I thought she was." His mother tilted her head. "And who was she?" He stared at the floor. "A nurse. Or, that's what I thought. But she's the daughter of Henry Carter, the CEO of Carter Medical." His mother's eyes widened. "The same Carter who owns the hospital?" Ethan nodded. "Yeah. Her bodyguards came last night. Took her away like she didn't belong with someone like me." Silence filled the room for a moment. Then his mother said something soft, something that cut through the pain. "Maybe she didn't hide who she was to fool you, Ethan. Maybe she hid it because she wanted to see who you were, without the world's noise." He wanted to believe that. He really did. But part of him was still angry, still hurt. "Even if that's true, Mom, what's the point? Her world and mine will never mix." His mother smiled sadly. "Love doesn't check bank accounts, sweetheart. It just asks if your heart is real." That sentence followed him all day. By afternoon, he was back at the diner, sweeping the same floors where he'd first met Lila. Every corner reminded him of her laughter, her kindness. He tried to focus on work, but his mind kept drifting. And then, just as the clock hit 9, the bell above the door rang. He looked up, and froze. There she was. Lila stood in the doorway, no bodyguards, no limousine. Just her, in a simple gray coat and a scarf wrapped tightly around her neck. Her eyes searched the room until they met his, and in that moment, all the noise inside him stilled. "Ethan," she whispered, stepping closer. "I'm so sorry." He dropped the mop and wiped his hands nervously. "You shouldn't be here." "I had to see you," she said, her voice trembling. "I didn't mean for things to happen that way. I didn't want to lie." He frowned. "Then why did you?" She took a deep breath, her eyes glassy with tears. "Because every time people find out who I am, they change. They treat me differently. They stop seeing me as Lila, just a nurse trying to help people, and start seeing me as the CEO's daughter. I just wanted to live like everyone else for once." Ethan's anger softened. He could hear the honesty in her voice. "Still," he asked, "so what now? You'll go back to your world, and I'll go back to mine?" She shook her head. "I don't want that." "Your father does," Ethan replied bitterly. "He sent men in suits to take you away like I was some kind of criminal." She stepped closer. "My father doesn't understand. He thinks love is a business deal, that everything has a price. But he's wrong." Ethan looked into her eyes and saw something he hadn't expected, not pity, not guilt, but courage. "Then what are you going to do?" he asked. "I'm going to prove to him that you're not just some poor student," she said firmly. "That you're someone worth knowing, worth trusting." Ethan laughed weakly. "And how are you going to do that?" She smiled faintly. "By showing him who you really